Welcome to the deep dive. We often navigate life's big moments, graduation, careers, maybe starting a family. But there's this one chapter, retirement, that often brings this mix of excitement and maybe a bit of worry. People often see it as an end, right? A time to wind down, enjoy what you built up. But what if that's not the whole picture? What if retirement isn't just stopping, but actually a really powerful new start? A time not just for looking back, but for actively building a legacy that's, much bigger than just money. A legacy of clarity, dignity, and love.
That's a really profound way to frame it, actually. And it gets right to the core of what we're digging into today. For this deep dive, we're looking at this really remarkable, very personal project by Ramesh Kalkere. He's 64, a seasoned IT pro, but also, importantly, a family man, husband, friend. And he sort of distilled all this life wisdom into what he calls a legacy guide.
And it sounds like it's much more than just a simple checklist. It's a whole framework, like a roadmap for aging gracefully, empowering your kids, keeping family harmony, and maybe the biggest thing, holding on to your own dignity and purpose right through. Ramesh has this core belief, doesn't he, that retirement isn't the end of the road, but a powerful pivot. A key moment where looking ahead and acting with love really shape those final chapters, making them peaceful and meaningful.
Exactly. And he's seen something quite profound, that families often fall apart, not because there wasn't enough money, but because there was a lack of, wisdom, or the right documents weren't there, or just a fundamental lack of peace. He's seen how missing those intangible things can cause much deeper, longer lasting problems than any, financial issue. It's a really powerful lesson. You can leave a fortune, but if you leave confusion instead of clarity, you might actually be leaving chaos behind.
Wow. Yeah, and that observation, that's exactly what we wanted to really get into his work today. Like Ramesh himself says, this whole area is so personal, isn't it? It's tied up with everyone's own life story, what they prefer, their beliefs, how they see aging gracefully. Lots of people focus just on the money side of retirement planning, making sure they're comfortable, can enjoy things. That's fair enough, obviously. But Ramesh argues pretty convincingly that how you plan and what you choose to leave behind, that really shapes your loved ones' lives. We're talking assets, sure, but also like emotional stuff, values, even people who might need care later. He's seen how fuzziness around this can turn families who were once, as he puts it, all together into people at loggerheads, just tearing relationships apart.
Which brings us neatly to what we're trying to do here in this deep dive. Our goal is to really unpack Ramesh's whole approach to retirement planning. It's not just about the numbers, the spreadsheets. It covers the tangible, yes, but really importantly, the intangible stuff too. We're going to go through his 7 key pillars. Each one is designed to help, keep family harmony, plan practically so you don't burden people, live with intention, and ultimately leave with real dignity. His whole framework is about leaving behind not just assets, but warmth, maturity, and this idea of unmatched clarity.
Okay, so let's settle in. We're about to explore how to make that last chapter maybe the most graceful, meaningful, and hopefully healing one for you and everyone you care about. Let's start peeling back those layers. Okay, so to kick things off, let's dive into Ramesh Kalkere's first pillar, financial legacy and legal preparation. So this pillar, it's essentially about getting a clear, structured plan for your finances, your assets, and using all the legal tools you have to, stop confusion and maybe most importantly, stop those painful fights before they even start.
Yeah, and it's interesting how he emphasizes this isn't just for families who are already, having issues. He makes the point that even really well-adjusted families, strong bonds, good communication, they can still face huge uncertainty, horrible feuds, legal problems. If the key financial and legal bits aren't written down properly, it's not just about the cash itself. It's really fundamentally about protecting those family relationships, stopping assets from becoming these flashpoints that turn people who are close into people at loggerheads. It's about proactively building peace for the long run.
That really hits home, doesn't it? The idea that something you mean as a gift could actually cause conflict if you haven't thought it through. It's a strong reminder that the goal should be easing burdens, financial, yes, but emotional ones too. So Ramesh gives some really practical, actionable steps, things to do it now. The first, the most basic one, he says, is write a comprehensive will. And he really stresses it has to cover everything. Properties, bank accounts, jewelry, digital assets, pensions, even sentimental things.
And that phrase, every asset, is so important now, especially with, how digital everything is. Think about it, crypto, NFTs, all those online accounts, maybe old dormant ones with just a little bit in them, or digital stuff with sentimental value, like photos or emails. What about those tiny, forgotten bank accounts? Or old share certificates worth maybe a few £100 but become a total nightmare for heirs to sort out? Or, sentimental items, like a grandparent's old ring, a watch, a book collection. Often no real monetary value, but they can spark intense fights over fairness or who should get what. More than big money items sometimes. You'd be surprised how many family fights after a death are over sentimental stuff. Leaving out even seemingly small things can lead to big legal costs, delays in probate, and worst of all, these horrible feuds based on ambiguity or feeling slighted. A clear, thorough will isn't just legal paper, it's like the foundation for preventing future chaos and keeping the peace.
Totally. Okay, so beyond the will, he says to assign nominees for all your accounts, insurance, mutual funds. Now, some people might think, hang on, isn't that what the will is for? What's the difference there?
That's a good question. And there's a really crucial legal and practical difference. See, a will says how all your assets get distributed eventually, after probate, which can take time. But nominees on specific things like bank accounts, insurance policies, mutual funds often get direct, immediate access to those funds when you pass away, sometimes without needing probate at all. This can massively speed up getting immediate funds to your family, stopping hardship while the will is being sorted legally. Imagine needing money right away for funeral costs or just living expenses, but everything's locked up in probate for months. Nominees mean there's cash available, practical support right when it's needed, less stress when things are already tough. And crucially, like a will, these aren't set it and forget it things. You need to review them regularly, especially after big life changes, marriage, divorce, grandkids arriving, to make sure they still match what you want.
All right, that provides immediate relief. Okay, next up, give copies of key legal documents to someone you trust, like your spouse or an adult child. We're talking things like national ID cards, tax IDs like Aadhaar and PAN in India, passport, birth, marriage certificates, property deeds, power of attorney docs, health insurance, tax papers, contracts. Quite a list.
Yeah, and this point really highlights just the sheer amount and importance of these documents. It's not just knowing they exist, it's about having immediate, secure access. Imagine desperately hunting for an insurance policy or a property deed during a medical emergency or some sudden legal problem when you're already stressed out of your mind. Not having those documents, or even just not knowing exactly where they are, can cause huge delays, legal messes, and just massive emotional pain. It turns a crisis into an absolute nightmare just because things weren't organized. Giving someone that ready access is a real act of love and foresight. It's giving peace of mind when they need it most.
That's a really strong point about the gift of access. Okay, here's one that jumped out at me as, well, surprising but also really insightful. Ramesh says list inherited disputes clearly. He suggests writing down what the dispute is about, who's involved, money spent so far, your view on it, and crucially, your suggested way to close it. I mean, how do you even start tackling something that sensitive?
This is where Ramesh really steps beyond just the practical finance stuff into deep emotional intelligence. This point is about having the courage and the foresight to face unresolved issues head on, even knowing they might only get sorted after you're gone. These family fights, if you let them fester, they can poison things for generations, creating these deep wounds and divisions. By writing them down, you stop future generations from inheriting that baggage, those ongoing legal or emotional battles. And that phrase, your suggested closure, it implies this proactive peacemaking act, offering a path forward, a resolution, or at least a clear understanding of what you hope for. It's like saying, look, I know this is unresolved, but here's my honest attempt to try and disarm the future, bring peace to it, even when I'm not here. It takes vulnerability, definitely, but it's an act of profound responsibility that could prevent so much future pain. It's asking you to be the healer, even from afar.
Wow. Yeah, setting the stage for healing, not more conflict. Okay, another vital point for our digital times. Avoid locking important files without sharing access info. This feels incredibly relevant with so much of life online now.
Oh, absolutely. This speaks right to the huge challenge of managing our digital legacies. We do so much: online banking, investing, social media, encrypted drives, cloud storage, even just managing subscriptions. How does a family get vital info, retrieve precious photos, manage accounts, if the person who holds the keys is incapacitated or gone and the passwords are lost? You hear these stories all the time, families locked out of critical photo archives for years because the login details vanished. A priceless emotional record just gone into the digital void. It's not about giving everyone access to everything, but about having secure, shared protocols for the essential stuff. Maybe a trusted password manager with an emergency access feature, or a securely stored, encrypted file with key details, known only to specific trusted people. The alternative is this digital black hole of inaccessible info, adding another layer of frustration and potential loss for grieving families when they absolutely don't need it.
And finally, under the Do It Now list for this pillar, Ramesh advises us to consolidate scattered small investments into manageable, easily traceable assets.
This is just smart, practical foresight. Over the years, lots of us pick up small investments here and there. A forgotten share certificate from an old job, a small bond from way back, an old mutual fund with hardly anything in it. Individually, they might seem tiny, but put them all together, and they can become a massive administrative headache for the people inheriting them. Each one needs researching, separate paperwork, often legal help to track down, combine, or cash in. By proactively pulling these together into fewer, more manageable, clearly traceable assets, you're simplifying the whole inheritance process hugely. You're saving your loved ones countless hours of paperwork, effort, and maybe even legal fees. It's a really thoughtful bit of organization.
Okay, so that covers the should do. Ramesh also gives clear guidance on what you should not do regarding financial and legal prep. The first one, keep secrets from your spouse and kids.
Yeah, the trouble with financial secrets is, it's damaging on so many levels. Practically, it can lead to absolute chaos, even devastation, when a spouse or child suddenly finds out about an unknown debt or an unexpected asset with tricky liabilities or some secret business thing that suddenly lands in their lap. And emotionally, when those secrets inevitably come out, they can cause these deep feelings of betrayal, mistrust, resentment. Being open about finances, even if it's about tough stuff like hardship or past mistakes, actually builds incredible family resilience. It creates this atmosphere of trust where you can face challenges together, make decisions with all the facts on the table. Hiding financial dealings can wreck relationships much more deeply and permanently than being honest about a shortfall ever could. It just eats away at the foundation of trust and real closeness.
And the last don't for this section, this really dangerous assumption.
Yeah.
Avoid legal documentation, assuming they'll figure it out.
Oh, this is probably one of the riskiest assumptions anyone can make, and Ramesh really hammers this point throughout his guide. The hard truth is, figuring it out often means falling back on complex intestacy laws, the rules for when there's no will. These vary everywhere and might not match your wishes at all. It can mean people you didn't intend getting assets, huge chunks of your estate getting eaten up by legal fees, bitter fights over property between siblings or relatives, massive tax problems that could have been easily avoided with planning. Leaving things to chance isn't a gift, it's dodging responsibility. It burdens your loved ones with chaos, uncertainty, often huge financial and emotional stress. Ramesh's point about clarity over chaos is so vital here. Proper documents are a proactive kindness, making sure your legacy is orderly and peaceful, not confusing and full of conflict. It's really about foresight and love for your family's future.
Okay, moving away from the purely tangible, let's explore the second pillar in Ramesh Kalkere's Legacy Guide. Emotional harmony and legacy values. This one isn't about what you owned, right? It's about the values, the love, the memories you leave behind.
Exactly. And this is where Ramesh's powerful quote really lands. It just feels so true. Your legacy isn't in what you owned, but in how you made others feel and what you stood for. This section really drives home the lasting impact of the emotional climate you create in your family. In so many deep ways, this emotional inheritance is worth far more than any financial one. He points out that families can break apart not because someone failed to leave wealth, but because they failed to leave wisdom, documentation, or peace. The emotional legacy is arguably the most valuable and often, the most delicate part of what you leave behind.
That really does shift the focus, doesn't it? Not the size of the bank account, but the strength of the bonds. So what practical steps does Ramesh suggest we do it now to actually build this emotional harmony? First one, resolve long pending family feuds. And he adds this powerful trio, invite, surprise, heal. That sounds incredibly brave, potentially really hard. How do you approach that?
It takes enormous courage and foresight, you're absolutely right. Family feuds, if they're left unresolved, they can fester for generations, creating these deep emotional scars, these chronic divides that affect everyone. Actively trying to reconcile even later in life has this amazing power to heal not just current strained relationships, but also break those cycles of bitterness for future generations who might otherwise just inherit the bad blood. The invite, surprise, heal idea suggests a deliberate, maybe unexpected move towards making peace. It could mean reaching out when it's least expected, maybe starting a conversation at a family event or a quiet meeting to genuinely offer that olive branch and try to find a resolution. It means stepping outside the usual patterns of avoidance or, passive aggression, taking real responsibility for your part in past conflicts and making peace your absolute priority. It can be uncomfortable, sure, but the generational healing it can bring, priceless.
That's a beautiful and challenging way to think about it. And linked to that, he suggests, call a family meeting, lay cards on the table, and offer peace. This sounds more formal, a structured way to get emotional clarity, which I imagine many families might avoid.
It is more formal, yes, and it takes a huge amount of bravery to have that kind of open, vulnerable conversation, especially about difficult things, past hurts, maybe even perceived unfairness. Laying cards on the table means being honest about your feelings, your perspective, maybe admitting your role in past conflicts without pointing fingers. But the absolute key phrase is offering peace. This isn't about dragging up old fights again, it's about taking responsibility, setting healthy boundaries for the future, and offering genuine forgiveness. It's an active search for reconciliation and harmony, showing you're willing to move forward for the good of the whole family. It can be the turning point for years, decades of better relationships.
And sometimes harmony isn't about those heavy talks. He also suggests something much simpler. Host a reunion, even a small, to bring people together.
Right. This highlights the simple but incredibly powerful effect of shared positive experiences. Often the best connections are rebuilt not through deep dives into old grievances, but through shared laughter, telling stories, just being together in a relaxed way. A reunion, doesn't matter how big or small, creates this welcoming space for joy, for celebrating what you have in common, for making new, positive memories that can gently push aside old tensions. It's about the power of just being present, sharing joy, and that basic human need to belong. Sometimes just hanging out together lightly is the best healing.
And for those who are good with words, he gives a very specific suggestion. Write a memoir, a letter, or a blog about your life learnings, values, and personal stories.
This is the most direct way to pass on that wisdom Ramesh keeps emphasizing. You really can't overestimate the value of personal stories for future generations. It lets your descendants understand where they came from, draw timeless lessons from your experiences, your successes, your struggles, how you bounced back and feel deeply connected to the history that shaped them. It's a way to share your worldview, your core values, your unique take on things in a way that can guide and inspire long after you're gone. Imagine finding your grandparents' thoughts on getting through tough times or their view on love or forgiveness. It's like a living legacy in writing, a chance to pass on not just what you did, but who you were, what mattered to you, and why it should matter to them.
I love that, a living legacy that keeps resonating. And finally, under Do It Now, he tells us to be a source of warmth, not criticism. That sounds easy, but can be tough sometimes, right? Especially when you see your adult kids making choices you don't agree with. How does Ramesh suggest handling those moments?
You've hit on a really crucial point there. This is about consciously choosing your emotional input, day by day. The massive impact of daily interactions, the emotional tone set by elders in a family, you can't really overstate it. A steady stream of warmth, encouragement, positive feedback creates an environment where wisdom is actually welcomed and relationships can thrive. When you see choices you disagree with, it's not about pretending you approve, but choosing to respond with curiosity instead of condemnation. Maybe saying, help me understand why you're thinking that way, instead of, why on earth would you do that? On the flip side, constant criticism, negativity, judgment that creates distance, breeds resentment, makes family members not want to engage, maybe not even want to be around you. Being a source of warmth means actively trying to have positive interactions, offering support, being a comforting presence that makes your wisdom more accessible and your presence more valued. It's a daily practice, really, intentional kindness.
Okay, so we've covered the positive actions. Now, what does Ramesh say we should not do for emotional harmony? First, this seems like a common slippery slope. Be sarcastic about your daughter-in-law, son-in-law, or in-laws.
This might seem small, like a personality quirk, maybe even trying to be funny, but those little criticisms, especially wrapped in sarcasm or passive aggression, they can wound deeply and create lasting, maybe even irreparable splits in a family. Your children's spouses are their chosen partners. Respecting them is absolutely fundamental to respecting your child's choice and keeping the family together. That kind of behavior just undermines trust, breeds resentment, and can poison the whole family dynamic, making real harmony impossible. It's the direct opposite of building warmth and peace. Think about the cumulative effect of constant little digs. They wear down relationships much more effectively than one big fight.
And another one that can cause serious friction and push kids away. Act like your children owe you a life of servitude.
Yeah, this goes right to the heart of healthy independence and mutual respect in adult relationships. While kids certainly have a moral and often practical duty to care for and respect their parents, seeing them as being owed or always in your service, that can breed deep resentment and distance. It changes the relationship fundamentally from one of love, mutual support, reciprocal care to one of just obligation and burden. And that ultimately pushes children away, doesn't draw them closer. It's about aiming for a relationship built on partnership, gratitude, real affection, not entitlement or demanding obedience. Your adult children aren't your employees or your default caretakers. They're independent people who deserve that respect.
And finally, this one's about ego. Brag out your past to make others feel small.
There's a really fine line, isn't there, between sharing wisdom, experience, good memories, and using your past successes to kind of diminish the efforts or successes or even just the choices of others. Humility connects people, allows for real admiration and learning. When an elder is constantly reminding everyone of their own gold standard achievements, it can make younger generations feel inadequate, unappreciated, like their own accomplishments are never quite good enough. This pushes people away instead of connecting them. It creates this unhealthy competition or a feeling of inferiority instead of shared pride and support. It's about lifting others up, celebrating their unique paths, not using your past like a weapon to put them down. Real mentorship inspires. It doesn't diminish.
That's powerful. This pillar really shows that our legacy is lived every day through how we interact, not just something left at the end. Okay, let's move to the third pillar in Ramesh Kalkere's legacy guide, health, aging, and care planning. This pillar focuses on proactively planning for your own health needs and preparing for the, let's face it, often complex reality of long-term care.
Yeah, this is a deeply practical pillar and often emotionally tough, but you just can't overstate its importance. Ramesh makes a critical point. Health costs can be emotionally and financially draining without preparation. It's stark, but true. The reality is illness, especially something unexpected or long-term like dementia or chronic disease, can create massive, overwhelming stress for families. Without planning ahead, they're left scrambling to manage the complex logistics of care, finding nurses, arranging transport, and the spiraling financial costs, which can honestly wipe out savings and lead to huge resentment or caregiver burnout. Tackling this proactively isn't just being kind to yourself, it's a profound gift to your loved ones, lifting huge future burdens off their shoulders.
So how does Ramesh suggest we tackle this do it now for health planning? First, the absolute basics. Review your health insurance coverage, especially after age 70 or 80.
This is so critical because, well, health needs change dramatically as we get older, and unfortunately, so can insurance policies or how adequate your existing cover is. What was fine in your 50s or 60s might be completely insufficient in your 70s or 80s, especially with the soaring costs of specialized senior care, long-term facilities, in-home nursing, or even just managing ongoing medications. You absolutely need to understand your policy's specific limits, its out-of-pocket maximums, and exactly what kind of care it covers versus what it doesn't. Many have age-related caps or exclusions. Not doing these regular reviews can lead to huge, unexpected bills that drain savings fast, creating a massive financial burden for your family just when they're already dealing with your health crisis. It's a vital checkup for your financial health as much as your physical health.
And this next point is one many might understandably want to avoid thinking about, but it's key for real peace of mind. Save funds specifically for terminal illness, private care, a home nurse, or hospice.
This is definitely a difficult, sobering conversation to have with yourself and your family, but it's absolutely vital. The financial reality of end-of-life care can be truly staggering. Hospice, specialized palliative care, even just long-term, round-the-clock home nursing, it can be incredibly expensive, often way beyond what standard health insurance covers. Having dedicated funds set aside, or at least a clear, discussed plan for how these costs will be covered, provides immense peace of mind, not just for you, but for your family. It lifts that agonizing burden off them, having to make huge financial decisions during a time of deep grief and stress. It lets them focus entirely on your comfort, your dignity, and emotional support. It's an act of profound foresight and compassion. It says so much about how you care for their future well-being.
And to ease that burden further during a crisis, he advises, assign a medical proxy, someone who'll make decisions if you can't.
Oh, this is an absolute legal and ethical must-have that can prevent terrible family turmoil. a medical proxy, usually set up through a durable power of attorney for healthcare, or a healthcare directive, sometimes called a living will, legally names someone you trust completely to make critical medical decisions for you if you become unable to communicate your wishes. Without this clear designation, families can be torn apart by disagreements, or forced into long, emotionally draining, expensive court battles to get guardianship, all while you might be critically ill. It takes away the immense emotional toll and ethical dilemma from family members who'd otherwise be left guessing what you'd want, or facing agonizing choices without clear guidance. Your explicit wishes, known and documented beforehand, are a true gift of clarity and peace.
He also recommends something proactive on the health front, doing cognitive screenings every 6-12 months.
Yeah, the importance of catching cognitive decline early really can't be overstated. It's not just about potential medical treatments, which might or might not exist. It's crucially about giving you the chance to make vital personal and financial decisions while you are still fully capable. If cognitive decline is spotted early, you have this critical window to update your will, consolidate assets, assign powers of attorney, communicate your final wishes, get all your affairs in order clearly, intentionally before your capacity might diminish. This makes sure your autonomy, your preferences are respected, and that your family isn't left trying to sort out complex stuff when you can no longer say what you want. It's about empowering yourself to manage your own legacy while you still can, stopping others from having to make those hard choices for you later.
And finally, under health planning, maybe the toughest conversation. Document ICU, organ donation, and life support preferences.
This really gets into the specifics of living wills and advance directives. These documents spell out exactly what you want regarding extraordinary medical interventions, resuscitation, things like DNR orders, organ donation, and precisely how much life support you want or don't want. Clearly stating these preferences lifts an immense emotional and ethical burden from family members. Imagine the agony of a child or spouse having to make a life or death decision for you, not knowing your wishes, maybe with siblings disagreeing amongst themselves. By documenting these directives, you empower your family to advocate for your true desires. It allows them to grieve and cope without the added weight of agonizing uncertainty, guilt, or potential family fights over what's right or what you would have wanted. It's one of the most deeply compassionate things you can do to ensure dignity and peace for everyone involved.
Okay, so flipping it, what should we not do when it comes to health, aging, and care planning? First, seems obvious, but often slips. Ignore yearly checkups.
Right, this goes directly against the whole principle of proactive health management. Skipping preventative care or regular checkups is like ignoring the warning lights on your car dashboard. Over time, what could have been a minor, easily treatable thing, maybe high blood pressure, prediabetes can escalate into something much more serious, costly, and painful, often needing long hospital stays or chronic meds. Those annual visits are priceless opportunities for early detection, for managing chronic conditions effectively, for making key lifestyle changes that can massively impact your quality of life later on. Skipping them isn't saving time or money, it's often unintentionally inviting more severe, debilitating, and financially draining problems down the road.
And finally, this can cause huge emotional pain, hide major illnesses from family.
Hiding a major illness, even if the intention is to protect loved ones from worry or sadness, ultimately causes profound emotional distress and creates huge practical problems when the truth eventually comes out. When the illness inevitably surfaces or when a crisis hits, the family is then completely blindsided, unprepared, and often feels this deep sense of betrayal or being excluded. Being transparent, however hard that conversation might be, allows your family to offer real support, to plan for your care together, to adjust their own lives, and crucially, to start that vital process of emotional processing and grieving alongside you. It creates an environment of shared vulnerability and strength, making sure you face challenges together, not alone. It's about letting your loved ones actually be there for you, offering their full support when you need it most.
This pillar really drives home that deep link between our proactive health choices and our family's peace of mind, both now and in the future. Okay, let's move to pillar number 4 in Ramesh Kalkere's Legacy Guide, intellectual growth and spiritual pursuits. This one's all about intentionally keeping your mind and soul fed with curiosity, engagement, and inner peace as you get older.
What's really insightful here is Ramesh's observation. Old age is a time for peace, reflection, and soulful engagement, not rigid dogma. That just beautifully captures the importance of staying mentally and spiritually alive in later life. It's about actively pushing back against stagnation, keeping a sense of purpose, and cultivating deep contentment. A mind and spirit that stay active can hugely contribute to overall well-being, resilience when facing challenges, and a genuinely positive outlook, rather than kind of shrinking your perspective or feeling left behind. It's about keeping your inner world vibrant.
I love that phrase, soulful engagement. It sounds like it's an ongoing thing, a constant evolution. So what does Ramesh suggest we do it now to cultivate this wisdom and openness? The first one challenges how we think. Revise outdated ideas, learn, unlearn, and calibrate based on new insights. I mean, how do you even spot which of your long-held beliefs might be outdated?
That's a great question, and it speaks right to intellectual humility and adaptability, which are really signs of true wisdom, aren't they? In a world that's constantly changing tech, society, culture, rigidly clinging to old beliefs, old information, even old ways of doing things can lead to feeling isolated intellectually and less able to understand younger generations or new ways of thinking. Spotting outdated ideas often just needs an open mind and a willingness to listen. It might come from learning about new science, seeing social norms evolve, or just having respectful chats with people from different backgrounds or generations. That willingness to unlearn what's no longer true or helpful and to calibrate your understanding based on new info lets you stay engaged, relevant, mentally sharp. It fuels continuous growth, stalks mental stagnation, ensures a vibrant intellectual life, whatever your age. It's about being a lifelong, enthusiastic learner. Always curious, never thinking you know it all.
That's a wonderful challenge. Keep growing. Always. Next, he says engage in spiritual practices, but avoid fanaticism or superiority.
This acknowledges the deep, often very personal role spirituality can play in finding peace, meaning a sense of purpose, especially later in life as you reflect on, existence, mortality, your place in it all. Spiritual practices, whether it's meditation, prayer, connecting with nature, community service, can bring immense comfort, a way to understand the world, a path to inner calm. But the warning Ramesh adds is crucial. Avoid fanaticism or feeling superior. True spirituality, as he sees it, should foster humility, compassion, acceptance, not judgment, rigid dogma that shuts others out, or trying to convert people in a way that alienates them. It's about finding personal peace and understanding, not imposing your beliefs or creating divisions in your family or community. The goal is inner harmony, not outward conformity.
And for those who enjoy sharing their thoughts, he suggests something very concrete. Blog, write, or speak your thoughts.
Yeah, this links right back to leaving wisdom, which we touched on with the memoir idea. For many people, sharing their built-up insights, reflections, perspectives by writing a blog, a book, giving talks, even just having thoughtful conversations can be incredibly fulfilling. It's not just a way to process and organize your own thoughts and experiences, give them structure and meaning, but it also becomes a valuable gift to others. It can inspire, educate, offer invaluable guidance to younger generations or peers, extending your influence way beyond your immediate circle and cementing your intellectual and moral legacy. It lets your voice, your experience, your unique wisdom keep resonating, impacting lives, even when you're not physically there anymore.
Finally, under intellectual growth, he advises, join thoughtful peer groups for discussion and inspiration.
This highlights the huge, often underestimated benefits of social connection and mental stimulation, especially when you retire and maybe lose those workplace social structures. Thoughtful peer groups offer this vibrant space to fight isolation, have stimulating discussions on all sorts of topics, share life experiences, get inspired by others who are also on this journey of growth and self-discovery. It allows for a free flow of ideas, challenges your own assumptions, and builds a powerful sense of community and belonging. All of that is vital for mental well-being, emotional resilience, and continuing to evolve as a person. It stops you getting stuck in a rut, keeps the mind active and engaged, and ensures you have a vital social network.
So what should we not do when it comes to intellectual and spiritual pursuits? First, this seems like the direct result of being rigid. Blindly preach or impose.
Right, this totally clashes with the goal of fostering peace, harmony, open-mindedness. There's a massive difference between sharing your perspective or wisdom in a way that invites curiosity, discussion, reflection, and blindly preaching or forcing your beliefs onto others. That second approach tends to alienate people immediately, create resistance rather than building understanding or real connection. When you impose, you shut down dialogue. You create an environment where others feel lectured, judged, disrespected. That fundamentally undermines the goal of harmonious relationships and intellectual openness. It's about being a compassionate guide, sharing from the heart, not being a dictator of truth.
And related to that, get stuck in rigid doctrines.
Yeah, reinforcing that earlier point about revising outdated ideas. Rigidity in your beliefs, whether they're religious, political, social, just closes off chances for growth, deeper learning, nuanced understanding. It stops you from adapting to new information, empathizing with different viewpoints, or embracing the natural evolution of life and society. A mind and spirit that stay open, free from the chains of rigid dogma, allow for greater personal fulfillment, more harmonious and accepting interactions with others, and a more expansive, joyful way of engaging with the world. It's about flowing with life's changes, rather than rigidly fighting them, which just leads to frustration and isolation.
This pillar really shows us that aging can be a time of profound inner growth if we consistently feed our minds and spirits with curiosity and openness. Okay, let's move to the fifth pillar, which has such a huge impact on daily life: behavior, dignity, and family roles. This section is all about realizing that how you carry yourself, how you interact, the role you choose to play in your family, it matters more than ever in your later years.
This pillar has one of Ramesh's most direct, powerful statements, just a profound truth. In your family, you're either the source of inspiration or irritation. Choose wisely. Wow. That just highlights the incredible ripple effect an elder's behavior has on the whole family atmosphere, the dynamic. Your presence, your words, your daily actions, they aren't just personal, they're powerful forces that can either lift people up and inspire them or subtly drain and irritate everyone around you. It's a conscious choice that shapes your immediate legacy day by day.
That's such a stark choice, isn't it? Inspiration or irritation. So how do we do it now to consistently be that inspiring presence? First, and this is vital for family unity, be respectful to your children's spouses.
This point is absolutely fundamental for keeping family peace and togetherness. A child's spouse, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, they become a key, cherished part of the family fabric. The relationship you actively build with them directly affects your relationship with your own child. A lack of respect, whether it's subtle digs, passive-aggressive sarcasm, being dismissive, excluding them, that can create deep tension, resentment, profound division within the whole family. Conversely, genuinely embracing and respecting your child's chosen partner fosters this cohesive, harmonious environment where everyone feels valued, accepted, truly belongs. This is crucial for the family's overall health and stops that kind of us versus them dynamic from starting. It shows respect for your child's judgment and choices.
And this next one is often a huge source of joy for many. Spend time with people who need you, especially grandchildren.
Right. This emphasizes the unique, invaluable role grandparents play in a child's life. It's not just about practical childcare, it's about offering that unconditional love, sharing wisdom through stories, providing a stable, comforting presence, forging that vital link to family history and heritage. Grandparents often have the gift of time and a different perspective to just be there for grandkids in ways that busy parents sometimes can't. This relationship brings immense joy and benefits both ways. Kids get this source of deep affection, unique lessons, a safe space, and elders find renewed purpose, energy, often profound emotional satisfaction from these intergenerational bonds. It's a deep well of warmth and connection, enriching both lives.
He also advises something that can be incredibly hard for many. Avoid sarcastic or controlling behavior. Lots of people don't even realize they're doing it. What are some subtle ways these show up in erode relationships?
You're right, they can be subtle, but so corrosive. Sarcasm, even when it's dressed up as humor or wit, often carries this hidden sting that can deeply wound, belittle, erode trust over time. It creates this atmosphere of uncertainty where family members feel constantly judged or subtly mocked. Controlling behavior, on the other hand, it just stifles independence, breeds resentment, signals a lack of trust in your adult children's abilities or choices. Both behaviors create emotional distance, make real connection incredibly hard. For instance, a sarcastic comment about how a grandchild eats might seem harmless, but if it happens often, it undermines the parents and the child's confidence. Or micromanaging how your adult child decorates their home might feel like helpful advice, but it's controlling their space. These are the absolute opposite of warmth and open communication. They push family away, not draw them closer, directly undermining emotional harmony and a positive legacy.
And as relationships naturally change, he suggests a critical shift. Be a good friend, not a master.
This speaks to that natural, healthy evolution of parent-child relationships as kids become independent adults. The dynamic should gracefully shift from, command and obey to one of mutual respect, support, shared interests. As a parent, moving into that friend role means valuing your adult kid's autonomy, offering advice only when asked, listening actively without judgment, doing things together as equals, rather than trying to run their lives, correct every move, or keep that authoritarian position. This builds deeper, more satisfying adult-to-adult relationships based on real affection, partnership, reciprocal care, rather than a lingering sense of obligation or old childhood power dynamics. It's about respecting their adulthood.
Finally, under this pillar, he says, be generous in spirit, especially if financially stable.
This point really goes beyond just giving money, although that's part of it too. It covers a wider generosity of spirit. Generosity of time, offering your presence, a listening ear. Generosity of attention, being truly present with people. Generosity of praise, acknowledging and celebrating their efforts, their successes. Generosity of forgiveness, letting go of old hurts. And generosity of understanding, offering empathy instead of quick judgment. When an elder, especially one who's financially secure, consciously shows this kind of broad generosity, it enriches family life incredibly. It demonstrates true wealth, not just in assets, but in character, emotional intelligence, a deep wellspring of love. It fosters this climate of abundance, appreciation, security within the family, showing that your value isn't tied to your stuff, but to your presence.
So rounding out this pillar, what specific behaviors does Ramesh say we should not do? First, these feel like the opposite of dignity. Be rigid, dominating, or entitled.
Yeah, these behaviors are the direct opposites of harmony and dignity in a family. Rigidity makes compromise impossible, stifles growth, adaptation. Domination crushes individual expression, autonomy, critical thinking in others. And entitlement breeds deep resentment, quickly drains the emotional energy of people around you who feel constantly obligated. These traits actively push family members away, block genuine connection. They create an environment where family feels like a heavy obligation or a restrictive duty, rather than a cherished source of love, support, belonging. It's about realizing that respect has to be earned and freely given, not demanded or assumed just because of age or past contributions.
That's a huge one for many families, causes so much friction. Get involved in your children's lives unless invited.
This is all about respecting healthy boundaries and the vital independence of adult children. While parents' intentions might be good, interfering unasked in kids' relationships, careers, parenting choices, personal decisions, it can lead to deep resentment, strained relationships, a feeling that their independence isn't respected or trusted. It's crucial for parents to recognize their role gracefully changes from direct guidance and supervision to supportive presence, offering advice only when explicitly asked, and trusting their adult children to navigate their own lives, make their own mistakes, learn their own lessons. It is a key fundamental part of fostering mutual respect and building truly lasting, healthy adult-to-adult connections.
And lastly, this ties into ego again. Act like your achievements are the gold standard.
Right, ties back to humility and respecting individual journeys. While it's natural and good to be proud of what you've done and share your life story, constantly comparing others' paths and successes to your own gold standard can be incredibly diminishing, discouraging. It implies their efforts are somehow less, their choices aren't valid, their achievements don't count unless they look exactly like yours. It's essential to acknowledge, celebrate, genuinely value others' unique journeys, their diverse talents, their distinct successes, rather than constantly comparing and putting them down. True inspiration comes from lifting others up, validating their experiences, creating an environment of mutual encouragement, not from making them feel small by holding your past up as the only valid measure.
This pillar really highlights how our daily interactions, our presence, our chosen attitude, that's the foundation of our lasting legacy, shaping the emotional world for those we love. Okay, now we reach the sixth pillar of Ramesh Kalkere's legacy guide, day-to-day practical readiness. This one's all about organizing your life so thoroughly that others can support you efficiently, especially during tough times or big changes, minimizing the logistical stress.
Yeah, this pillar is directly about easing that logistical burden for your loved ones exactly when they're least able to handle it. Ramesh's point here is crystal clear, powerfully practical. Your preparedness can make tough times smoother for loved ones. When a crisis hits a sudden medical emergency, an urgent trip, the deep grief after a death, the very last thing stressed or grieving family members need is to go on this overwhelming scavenger hunt for vital info, scattered bills, crucial contacts. A lack of practical organization creates an immediate, huge burden that can quickly turn chaotic, adding massively to an already difficult and emotionally draining situation. It's not just a convenience, it's a tangible act of deep care for those who will eventually care for you.
It's basically the ultimate pay it forward for your family, isn't it? A proactive gift of clarity. So what practical steps does Ramesh advise we do it now for getting properly organized? First, sounds so simple but often missed. Create a who to call list: doctor, financial advisor, lawyer, cleaner, plumber, key neighbors or friends.
The practical relief this simple list provides in an emergency is just immense. Imagine the sheer stress of trying to find the right doctor's number, or the lawyer handling affairs, or even just the trusted plumber who knows the house, in a crisis moment when you're already dealing with a loved one's health emergency or processing their death. This simple, consolidated list saves precious time, drastically reduces anxiety, ensures that necessary support systems, medical, financial, household, can be brought in immediately, efficiently. It's a small detail, but it makes an enormous real difference when time is critical and emotions are running high. It's a lifesaver, literally, sometimes.
And this next one's often overlooked, but huge for daily life. Document how to run your home bill payments, property issues, maintenance schedules, trusted repair people.
Oh, this point resonates deeply because the countless small, ongoing details of managing a household often live just in one person's head, or in some random pile of notes. Think about it. When are the utility bills due? How are they paid? Who's the contact for home insurance? What's the policy number? When was the boiler last serviced? By who? What about property tax, recurring subscriptions, repair schedules for the roof or appliances? If this seemingly boring knowledge isn't carefully written down, it becomes an overwhelming, frustrating, time-sucking task for family members to piece together, especially if they don't live there or aren't familiar with the house's quirks and routines. Documenting these processes ensures things keep running smoothly and avoids immediate logistical nightmares. Turns what could be a chaotic handover into a smooth, manageable transition. It's providing a clear operating manual for your daily life.
And in our digital age, this next step is absolutely essential for anyone online. Backup digital information passwords, bank logins, critical online accounts.
Yeah, this just hammers home, again, the critical importance of digital access today. So much of our lives, finances, social connections, admin tasks, even precious memories is managed online. If the person holding the keys is suddenly unable or gone, how do families access vital bank accounts, pay bills, manage investments, or even close online subscriptions and social media? We hear heartbreaking stories all the time of families locked out of cherished digital photos or emails for years because passwords were lost or unknown. It's not just about financial access, it's about digital identity, practical management, reserving irreplaceable emotional stuff. Ramesh is stressing secure ways to share this info, like using reputable password managers with emergency access, or securely stored encrypted documents known only to trusted people, not just a sticky note or an easy-to-find file. This ensures crucial digital doors aren't permanently locked, preventing huge frustration, financial problems, and emotional loss.
So what should you not do regarding day-to-day practical readiness? First, a common trap: leave things only in your head.
This is such a dangerous vulnerability that often leads to needless stress for loved ones. Relying only on your memory, especially as cognitive function naturally changes with age, is just asking for potential disaster. Important details can be forgotten, misremembered, or simply lost forever if not carefully written down and shared in a way people can access. This applies to everything: finances, household stuff, personal preferences, wishes. It creates huge uncertainty and puts an unfair burden on loved ones trying to figure out undocumented info, often under pressure during a crisis. The simple truth is, clarity needs documentation. Otherwise, valuable information just vanishes.
And finally, echoing a point from the very first pillar, he reinforces it here.
Yeah.
Soon people will just figure it out.
Right. That phrase is such a widespread and dangerous assumption, and Ramesh powerfully challenges it at every turn in his guide. It's never an act of kindness or confidence. It's dodging responsibility that inevitably leaves loved ones scrambling, stressed, potentially facing unforeseen legal or financial traps that could have been totally prevented. Reinforcing this crucial point, Ramesh stresses that clarity is an incredibly profound gift that ensures peace and ease, while the chaos born from assuming they'll figure it out is an unnecessary, heavy burden. Proactive organization, thorough documentation, these are tangible expressions of love and foresight, ensuring your legacy is one of ease, order, peace, not confusion, frustration, or undue hardship for those you leave behind.
It's a real testament to how even the smallest acts of organization and clarity can have the biggest, most positive impact on the people we love. We've reached the seventh and final pillar of Ramesh Kalkere's legacy guide: giving and charity with heart. This pillar is all about sharing what you've earned, what you've gathered, but doing it without ego, without trying to control it externally, and with genuine lasting impact.
This pillar really captures a whole philosophy of living purposefully, intentionally. Ramesh shares a profound bit of wisdom here. Giving is the highest form of living, but it must be thoughtful. This highlights not just the act of giving itself, but the immense, lasting fulfillment that comes from meaningful, intentional generosity. It's about ensuring your charitable acts solidify your values and contribute positively to the world in a way that truly reflects your heart, cementing this compassionate, purposeful part of your legacy that lives on.
That distinction, thoughtful giving, is so important. It's more than just a transaction. So how does Ramesh suggest we do it now for intentional philanthropy? First, choose causes that matter deeply to you, whether it's educating a child, supporting a widow, or any cause close to your heart.
This emphasizes the personal connection, the passion that should drive your chosen causes. Giving becomes deeply meaningful, fulfilling, when it genuinely lines up with your core values, the areas you sincerely care about. It's not just about writing a check to any random charity. It's about investing your resources, time, money, expertise in something you truly believe in. Whether it's helping kids get education, tackling poverty in a specific place, protecting the environment, or comforting those in need. This personal connection makes the act of giving deeply enriching and ensures your generosity reflects your unique heart, your life's purpose, your vision for a better world. Makes your impact truly authentic, resonant.
And this next one really speaks to the without ego or control part. Give without controlling how it's used. That's liberating, but challenging for many donors.
This is indeed the truly freeing aspect of pure, unconditional generosity. Once you've thoughtfully picked a cause and given your gift, the purest, most impactful way is to let go of control over the exact execution, the micromanagement of the funds. Demanding constant reports, micromanaging the daily work of the recipient, imposing your specific methods that can accidentally kill the spirit of generosity, turn it into this transactional, maybe even resentful relationship. True generosity trusts the recipient or organization to use the gift best, most effectively. It lets the impact unfold naturally, fosters genuine appreciation and empowerment rather than obligation or resentment. It's like planting a seed and trusting it to grow, letting your gift have its own life and impact.
And crucially, don't burden yourself financially in the name of generosity. This feels like an important check on maybe getting carried away.
This is the critical, practical balance to heartfelt giving, ensuring it's sustainable. While generosity is encouraged, deeply fulfilling, it must always be balanced with your own long-term financial stability and security. It's absolutely essential to ensure your own well-being first, especially as you age, and your needs or potential health costs might rise significantly. Giving beyond your means, putting your own future financial security at risk for charity, can ironically create a different kind of burden, leading to personal stress, regret, potentially even becoming a burden on your own family later on. Responsible giving means finding that thoughtful balance where your generosity is impactful and meaningful, but doesn't compromise your own well-being or future needs. It's about giving from abundance, not sacrifice that harms you.
So like the other pillars, what does Ramesh say we should not do when it comes to giving and charity? First, give and demand reports.
Right, this ties directly back to that control issue, changing the act of giving. When you demand reports, giving implicitly changes from the spontaneous, kind gesture based on trust and generosity into a conditional transaction, almost like a loan or investment needing quarterly updates. It implies a basic lack of trust in the recipient or organization, can make them feel scrutinized, obligated, rather than genuinely supported and appreciated. This behavior subtly kills the pure spirit of generosity, can foster obligation or resentment, diminishing the true positive impact of the gift itself. It's about giving freely, letting the gift stand on its own, not turning it into a performance review for the recipient.
And finally, a manipulative tactic. Guilt others into doing it your way.
Yeah, this is a manipulative approach that just fundamentally undermines the whole essence of true charity, creates deeply negative feelings around giving. Genuine philanthropy should come from personal values, a heartfelt connection to a cause, a pure, unselfish desire to help, not from coercion, emotional blackmail, social pressure. Guilt-tripping others into giving in a specific way or to a specific cause just generates resentment, causes discomfort, can make giving feel like a heavy chore rather than a joyful, voluntary act of compassion. It's about inspiring through your own genuine example and passion for a cause, not manipulating through obligation or making others feel inadequate about their own choices.
This pillar really shows us that thoughtful, heartfelt generosity isn't just about the money, but about the spirit, the intention, the profound love behind the gift. So we've journeyed through Ramesh Kalkere's incredibly thorough legacy guide, exploring these 7 powerful pillars for shaping our final chapters. It's really clear that retirement, in his view, isn't just a personal retreat or a quiet end, but a profound active chance to shape not just your own comfort, but a lasting legacy of clarity, dignity, and maybe most importantly, unconditional love for your family, and even beyond.
Absolutely. The holistic nature of this guide, from meticulously getting finances and legal docs sorted, to nurturing deep emotional harmony, proactively planning for health issues, fostering continuous intellectual and spiritual growth, ensuring dignified and inspiring behavior, diligently prepping for practical daily needs, and giving with an open heart, it all just weaves together perfectly. It creates this powerful picture of a life lived with real intention and foresight. It's a testament to the idea that our final years can actually be our most impactful, our most generous, our most deeply meaningful.
And Ramesh leaves us with this urgent call, doesn't he? A powerful reminder that just cuts through procrastination. Time is precious. Peace is priceless. Don't let your legacy be incomplete, chaotic, or full of hurt. Act now, not someday.
That urgency is so significant. His vision for a truly meaningful legacy is one that goes way beyond just material wealth, which, as we've seen, can so often cause conflict. He urges us to live and plan so that when we're no longer here, our loved ones can look back and say, and this is such a beautiful aspirational thought, they didn't just leave us money, they left us maturity, clarity, and love. It's about consciously building that foundation of peace, understanding, emotional resilience that keeps serving and lifting up your family long after you're gone.
So as you reflect on everything we've unpacked today, what single step, maybe starting right now, will you take to ensure your own legacy is one of warmth, maturity, and that unmatched clarity? Will it be finally drafting that will, starting that difficult but maybe healing conversation, or just committing to being that consistent source of warmth in your daily life? The power to consciously shape your most graceful, meaningful, and healing chapter for yourself and for everyone you love, it really is in your hands, starting today.